welcome back, guys, to another amazing episode of the Third Shield Pokemon Go PvP podcast. Guys, today I don't have one guest. I have actually two guests and a half. Because today I have two of the most anticipated players in Pokemon Go. That's right, Zyonik and Caleb Peng joining us with the half guest right there, right behind Caleb Peng, looking right at us. His little, what is his name, by the way? What's your cat's name, Caleb?
I have two. One of them is Chaggy and one of them is Cranberry. Yeah.
Cranberry? Is that Cranberry, by the way?
Yeah, Cranberry's in the back. Yeah, they're sisters. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, anyways, guys, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you both.
Yeah, really happy to be here. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, same. Absolutely. I think this is my third time?
Yeah, this is my second time.
Too.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, Caleb, I think your third time and Zyonik's second time. So thank you so much for coming back. And now, especially together, this is going to be epic. So I have so many questions for you guys, and I just cannot wait to dig right into it. But first, before we even get started, I just wanted to congratulate you real quick on your newest adventure, which is the Battle Cats podcast. Firstly, when do you guys usually record and air the episodes? So all the listeners who are tuning into this new podcast, which, by the way, I listen to religiously while I'm doing my workouts. So every time I go into the gym, I literally turn it on. And when people walk by and they look at my phone, because I usually put it on the floor and they see the Battle Cats logo, it's a cat on it, they usually they look at me.
We usually record twice a week. So typically Sundays and like Wednesdays or Thursdays. And we try our best to have episodes air out Mondays and Fridays. That way we can start your week with an episode and start your weekend with an episode. If you don't see an episode on Monday, then it's going to come out Tuesday. If you don't see it Friday, it's going to come out on Saturday. And that's sometimes due to me having two kids I got to take care of, and I can't always record on the day that we can do it. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And guys, of course, if you're watching or listening, either way, it's going to be in the footnotes of the episode, the links, so you can check it out. I highly, highly recommend it. And I learned so much from both of you, by the way. So I just wanted to quickly put that out there, that I learned, I think, the most from you two and from your channel. So I'm again, very, very thankful and so excited to have you both here.
Appreciate it. One thing I will say, I love going when I open up my Twitter and seeing your latest little clips that you do. I just love it. I just sit there and smile because it's so awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I literally just try to have fun and make people laugh. That's literally what I'm going for with it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I wanted to start out with last season. So last season was our first, I should say, new season with the new legend system and the longest months for battling it out, which I actually enjoyed. But what I want to find out from you is that how did you do last season? And if you learned something or you had like a big giveaway or takeaway from the previous season.
Sure. Yeah, I'll go first. Last season I ended at legend rank 3,120 rating. I hit that I think at near the beginning or middle of January. So I guess the takeaway I would have from it is that the season was so long that I didn't really have to feel pressured to hit legend. I knew I had the skill, the teams, and the Pokemon to do it, so I could kind of pace myself, and that's kind of what I saw, because I saw other people hitting legend during the Holiday Cup, like beginning of December, and I was starting to feel discouraged that I wasn't there yet. But then I realized there was like 60 days left in the season, and I would have been just fine. So I think that was one thing. Was just learning to pace, and that's what I'm applying for this season as well, which I know we'll talk about later.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense too, because, and I know exactly what you're talking about. When I start seeing people hitting that legend, right around December and January, I was like, oh crap, I should turn it up. But then I think you made even a post on Twitter, something about that you have so much time left to space yourself. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
How about you, Caleb?
Yeah, so I ended at 3479 on the season. And kind of similar to Zyonik, I think the pacing is definitely important. I think the other thing is really, I don't know, part of it, I think, is because it was such a long season, there were more chances for people to hit legend or hit that highest rank. But at the same time, I think because of that, it got really stressful for some people that are constantly close to hitting it, but not hitting it. So I think, it's for me, it's always easy to say like, hey, try not to compare yourself to other people and stuff, right? And just focus on your own goals. But it's hard to ignore when you're on Twitter or social media or Discourse or whatever, right? Because this is a very community-based game, so you're bound to see other people's achievements. But I think trying to kind of focus on your own grind towards that highest rank or your own goals is probably the best way to kind of not get discouraged throughout the way. Because I definitely got a little bit discouraged at times. I remember I was very close to hitting, I think I was like 2 points away or 4 points away from hitting legend back in Holiday Cup. It took me about 2 weeks to hit it because I just kept like dropping afterward. And so it was definitely a little discouraging, but I was like Zyonik said, like I still had like probably over 60 days at that point. But some reason I was still stressing myself out, right? So I think just trying to focus on yourself and trying to avoid compare yourself to other people can really relieve like quite a bit of stress.
Guys, I hope you heard what Caleb just said, because he mentioned that you were, let's say, around 2090s. Let's just go with that. And then it took you an additional 2 weeks to hit legend. So I only want to point this out because so many people are just like, all right, I'm in the 2700s, 2800s, and I just cannot hit that legend. But put it in a different perspective, we're talking about Caleb Peng, who is an amazing player and have done it many times. And now you are going back and forth, yo-yoing from that last set, and you're only one set away, and you still go down and up. So I just want to point it out that everybody goes through that.
And I remember Caleb told me, because he was talking to me about that, because I was getting so frustrated because I was at 2750. I hit expert and I was stuck in the 2700s, and I've done this for every season. I hit to 2700s and I sit there idle for like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And Caleb and I just had that talk because we were recording for the podcast, and I was telling him how frustrated I was. And he's like, yeah, I was in the exact same thing. I was 2900s. I'm like, well, did you hit legend? He's like, well, yeah, I just hit it. I'm like, oh man, that's awesome. Congrats. And then like a week later I hit it, or 3 days later I hit it. Because I guess what I try to tell people, especially those who hit expert, I think there's a lot of, there's obviously going to be skill difference, team comps and whatnot as you rise. But I know for sure players who hit 2750, that expert rank, you have what it takes to hit legend. The only difference is 1 to 2 good days in a row. That doesn't mean that someone who is ace or veteran can't hit legend at all. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is the difference between 2750 and 3000 is 2 good days in a row. That's it. Like you go on a 16 and 8 run or what have you, 16 and 9 run, 2 days in a row, you hit legend easy. Couple good sets away. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a real good point. And I think it was, I believe, For the Battles was the one who had set at 2099 and then dropped down like 200 or 300 points or something like that in season 4. And then she only hit that, at that point it was rank 10, but let's call it legend to not confuse people. Legend on the last set of the season on Monday, last set, and she was not even able to claim that Pikachu Libre. So It was that close. But yeah, don't stress, even though that was very stressful to her. It would have been to me too. Now, this season, so far we are about to hit Ultra League. And I just wanted to bring up, so far, how are you guys doing this season, and what are you doing different you maybe did differently in the season before, now that you know how long it is, or what your plan is for this one?
Sure. Yeah. This season, I think I'm taking the same approach that I've done with every season. I've changed the way I battle probably, I think, in season 3. Once season 1 and season 2, I didn't hit legend. Those first couple of seasons I didn't. I was trying to do all the battles every single day, and I was stressing myself out. So I decided, let's take a step back. Let's do quality over quantity. And go that route. So I've been doing that ever since, and I've hit the legend rank every season since that. So for this season, I do the same thing. I put in the first week, I usually put in the most battles. So I put in maybe 3 to 4 sets a day, sometimes 2, but I just want to get quality. So like 8 and 2 runs, 15 and 5 runs with strong teams, get my win percentage up high, because the early days count, because you're building up that rating in the background, even though you don't see it. and just hit that quality over quantity, because I know Great League's going to be back multiple times with different metas. So I'm not too worried about it. So right now I'm 130 battles in with 92 wins, which comes out to roughly about a 70% win rate. And I also like to utilize a lot of different teams. So if anyone's seen my YouTube videos, you guys see I run a different team every day. And I think it's really important to try new teams and build new teams and run them. Now, it doesn't mean they're always successful. I've built teams this season where, the first set I go 1-4, I'm like, okay, that team doesn't work. I see a lot of holes right now. And then I just change the team to something else. But I try to string as many good sets together with strong teams that I can, and just push that quality over quantity and not try to do my sets every day. I think the last time I did sets was Wednesday or Thursday of this week, and that was with Flygon. And I'm not going to touch it until Ultra League.
That's very interesting to hear, because I always love to hear from both of you guys as two things, actually. Not at this point three, just because it's a longer season. So one is that firstly, you don't stick to the same team, but it's important to stick to a team, it sounds like. But you also know when to switch it out and when not to switch it out. And I guess, of course, the most important thing is how to build a team. But I wanted to find out do you think that it's important to know when is a team working or not working? And then Caleb, I would love to hear from you as well after that, how your season going for this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when it comes to knowing if a team is working or not working, it's not necessarily, I did say if I go a 1-4 set, I try a different team. That's not necessarily the point. I should emphasize a bit more. It's when I see a big hole, like I can't handle the Politoed safe swap, or Metacham in the back just destroys my whole line. I can't do anything to that. And I'll see that in like that 1-4 set. I'm like, wow, I actually don't have an answer for this Pokemon. That's when I know this team isn't good. But if just because I go for a 1-4 set, it happens. But if I know, if I made a different decision, I could have handled this situation better. It's all about hindsight stuff. But I think the big one is when I see a Pokemon on the other side and I go, oh, I didn't have an answer for Tropius. That's probably not a good thing. It's a very common Pokemon. So that's how it goes when it comes to my team building for Great League and whatnot.
Which I hope you guys making notes right now, because these are the gold nuggets that I usually walk away with, and then it changes my entire season. So guys, I highly recommend that either re-listen to these parts, these little golden nuggets, or don't worry, because I'm going to highlight it anyways. But the point is, take action and don't just listen to it. And Caleb, how is your season going so far?
Yeah, it's going well. I think Zyonik and I are on a race to see who could pace ourselves the most this season. I personally haven't done my sets since probably Wednesday or Thursday either. And I think really this is something I learned a lot from last season, probably accidentally more so than not, is during Ultra League last season, I did open Ultra League, which means that it was harder to find battles because mostly we were doing Premier. And for me, queue times are taking a while. Like there'd be days where I think in the second half, it would take me about 3 to 3.5 hours to do one set a day. And so there's some days where I just skip my set completely. I was just like, it's just not worth the time. But it was kind of freeing. Once I did it a few times, I was like, hey, it's not so bad to just do a whole day without doing sets. And so I kind of got used to that feeling sometimes. And this season, I've really been taking advantage of those breaks, I guess, and not really doing all my sets. But yeah, so I've been pacing myself a little bit as well. Kind of like what Zyonik said, like, if I feel like doing it, I'm going to do it. If not, I'll just take a break. I mostly do it in many ways just for to create extra teams for viewers and for my patrons as well. But at the same time, there's so much going on in PvP right now. Like I still do Sylph tournaments, so I'm still doing battles every day or so on top of that.
It's it's interesting to hear from you two, especially because both of you are obviously content creators and very good players. So and so often on Twitter and just in streams, you hear it as how people sometimes they come up with like, I just don't have the time to battle, or it takes so much and all that kind of stuff. But when I'm actually talking to you and I say I'm gonna pace myself and I didn't do my battles since Wednesday, that's a lot of battles. That's like almost 5 days. So let's even if 5 days of no battles, that's like 25 battles against someone who actually 5 times 25 battles, because one day is 25 battles. So you guys are, compared to people who battling it out constantly, you are far behind and yet still ahead. So it's Zyonik already mentioned on this that you said quality over quantity. So would you recommend that to players too, to try to like focus on the quality instead of quantity, or how would you like decide what's the best for if their goal is just to hit that legend?
Yeah, so I would take a look at how experienced you are as a player. Are you somewhat new to Go Battle League? Did you come in season 5, season 6, kind of fresh? Because that makes a big difference. So Caleb and I have been doing specifically Great League battles for well over 2 years. I think he probably started back in December of 2018 when it first came out. He must have, or January. I know for January for sure for both of us. So that's years of experience with Pokemon in the Great League, which means we have all that time of battles. We had thousands of battles done before Go Battle League even came out. So there's that threshold of knowledge that we have behind us, and a lot of battles done. So when it comes to new players, what I would say is if you're in the boat of still trying to learn the game, I would try to do as many battles as you can, but understand that if it's causing you stress and causing you, you want to throw your phone at the wall feeling, that's when you need to kind of take it back. Do the quality over quantity sets. Find a creator, whether it's Caleb and I or someone else, who's, there's a team that they run, learn about that team, do simulations on PvPoke, because this game is all about knowledge, right? If I ask you, okay, how much will this hydro pump do to Sableye, from an Azumarill? Will you shield this or will you not? Based on the situation, you don't know how much damage that's going to do or if you're going to survive. That's when you need to do maybe some more research. And you can do that on PvPoke. That's how we know all this stuff, is from experience and research, knowing that, this move's only going to do 30% of my health. Based on my health bar, I have about 50%. I can survive and get off my charge move. I don't have to give up a shield, right? So if building on top of that, of getting your knowledge base up, and you can do that, like I said, from one of two ways: mass battling with the team and trial by fire, or if it's burning you out, then do research that way. That way, when you do go into battle, it's quality over quantity.
That's a very good advice. Caleb, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think just speaking on what Zyonik said about quality over quantity. Everyone learns from different ways. So I think for some people, if battling all 25 battles every day is the best way for you to learn from that experience, then that works for you, then I think keep doing that. But I think there is something to be said about how you play and how you improve, and it's not just playing more to improve. I think we're talking about PvP, but this could apply to many skills in life, right? Like, let's say if you're like a basketball player, like just because if you play more basketball than the next player doesn't mean you're going to be better than them, right? There's different ways to improve in basketball and different ways to improve in PvP, right? There's you could study different matchups on PvPoke. You could sit down and brainstorm different teams without actually playing, look at different matchups, all that stuff. And so so use what works best for you. But I think just because you play more doesn't mean that you're going to be necessarily the best player, right? I play, especially when Sylph battles were back then. Like I played people that had way less battles than me that still completely destroyed me, right?
Yes.
And like it's just, I was like, I played more than 2 or 3 times the amount of battles you've done, right? But you still are able to beat me quite easily. And so that in itself should be quite telling of how the skill level isn't determined by just how many games you play.
Yeah, exactly. And I had that exact experience at regionals. The person across from me didn't have a gold medal in Great League, and he was like, "I'm new to PvP, but I'm fighting him in the 6th round at table 1." I'm like, This guy had a little notebook and everything. And I think it's a knowledge game, and that's where I think if increase your knowledge pool of specifically the team, like especially if you're new and you don't have the Stardust to get all these different Pokemon. Find yourself a good team and know what they can do. Know your win conditions. Know how much damage that Psychic is going to do to an Azumarill from your Metagam. Know how much the Earthquake is going to do to Bastiodon. Can you let it go? Because you can survive with like 2% of your health and get off that Flamethrower. And then, just find someone who creates great videos around that team and learn that way too. Same with Twitch. Twitch streams as well is a great place to learn. Players like Tho Technical or House Stark who stream all the time. You should go check that out if you guys haven't been to Twitch yet.
Yeah, and those two players that you just mentioned right off the bat are very technical players. I should say they know all the mechanics behind everything. So I'm happy you brought them up, because while they are streaming, it's cool to hear their thought process and explaining that the reason why I'm doing this is because that was a 4-turn move, but on the second time on the 4th turn it's going to give an extra whatever. Like, it's just unbelievable. Some of the information I learn and walk away from, it's just unbelievable. And then that you mentioned about the Caleb, both of you said this, that just because you battle so much doesn't mean you're better than somebody who had, let's say, 100 battles, because maybe that person who did 100 battle where somebody did 5,000 battles, maybe that person, the only reason he has 100 battles because he took notes and learned from each individual battle, versus the person who just like, all right, let me battle. Speaking of the taking notes, do you guys have any like routine on how you improve yourself or you get better? So you know what your weakness is or how to overcome it. Do you guys look at each other's battles maybe and then you give feedback, or do you guys have any like something like that to improve and get better?
Sure. Yeah. It's a method that I've done since I've started. I record my battles, and it helps out being able to create content around it. So I do my battles, record it. Then I put it into the editor, and then I watch them through again before I shoutcast my battles for the video. I watch it through, and I just make sure in situations where I'm trying to learn from it, like what could I have done differently in this battle, or what did I do correctly in this battle. I watch my battles through and take notes. It's more in my head kind of notes. But when I first started, it was on paper. I actually have a couple notebooks full of just notes, just knowledge stuff while I was battling, especially in Sylph Arena at my tournaments. So that's what I would say is, record your battles. You don't have to record all of them, but maybe, record 2 sets and then sit down and rewatch them and think about what could I have done differently, especially when you lose. That's important to figure out, if I did 2 more fast moves right here, because Gavantula only did 1 volt switch, which means they take 2 more volt switches to get to a discharge. I can sneak in a couple more fast moves, and then I would have been closer to this charge move to take out their last Pokemon. It's a lot of little stuff, but if you do self-reflection, that's a great way to do it.
Very good point. That's a very good point. Would you compare, let's say, Pokemon Go Battle League, like the actual battling system, to what that would require the same brain power or steps to play? Like, I usually compare it to chess, but do you think that's comparable to compare it to maybe chess, or what would you compare it to for people who are just getting into PvP now, so they understand it's not just tapping,
You want to take this one, Caleb?
Yeah, sure. That's an interesting question. I think I'm not like a chess expert myself, but I think it's interesting. I guess some ways you could compare it to chess in the sense that there are different ways you could play the game. I was thinking about this when Zyonik was answering the question earlier. Is there's more than one way to play, right? So you have like Tho and House Stark, they're very technical players, right? But then there's other players that maybe they're not as technical, but they have a very distinct play style. And I say this because there are some players I play against, mostly either GBL is kind of weird at times because it's blind threes, but especially in declared 6 formats like Sylph tournaments or team tournaments or other formats like that. There's some players that I just really struggle to beat, or even like through scrims. And it's not that they might be more technical than the next player, but their specific play style I just like cannot work around. And so I think there is kind of a little style and personality to everyone's play style. And I think that's something that newer players or even veteran players should realize or figure out, what are the pros and cons, and what is your specific play style, and how do you play it, and how do you take advantage of that, and what are weaknesses to it. 'Cause I think it's more than just counting certain amount of fast moves and sack swaps and stuff. Especially in declare 6 formats, it's about like, how do you, what 3 Pokemon do you bring, or what kind of lineups do you bring in? How do you like read your opponent and stuff too? And GBL, I would say if I were to make the comparison, I think GBL is more like checkers, and declare 6 formats as more like chess, right? Because there's another step, another layer of strategy, right? When you see a potential team of 6, how do you counter that? How do you build around that? Whereas in GBL, it's kind of blind 3 since sometimes you're just hard counter. There's nothing you could do, right? And sometimes you can make a quick comeback with a sack and stuff, but sometimes you're just hard counter throughout the way, and there's nothing you could have done to prevent it because that's just who you matched up with. So yeah, that would be my comparison for chess to PvP.
That's a very good way to put it. I didn't think about that, especially with the show 6 format. That was a very good way to put it. And I wanted to bring this up because I almost forget, but with your analyst, that what you just said, it's perfect time to bring this up. So season 4, Arrow was struggling, and many people were struggling because season 4 was like a weird season with the elo gains and drops when they changed it mid-season, but which screwed almost everyone. But Arrow was stuck, I think, in the 25 to 2600s to the very end of the season, and he was frustrated about it, and he was voicing it on Twitter and on during his stream. And what was interesting to me that stood out the most, which I want to ask you about as well, is that he was continuously bringing it up, and I saw the point of it, that he was playing against the players that he had never played before. Is one, the Caleb you just mentioned, the different play styles and different players, and so he's not used to that, right? So he's stuck in this zone when you face different players with different play styles, and then he would literally call out players while he's facing them and he loses. Why the hell did he do that? He's not supposed to do this. He was supposed to save up or supposed to overcharge or supposed to do this and this, because he's so used to that high level of plays that he was messing up so much against players who had no idea what they are missing out. So what I want to bring up is, do you think there's like almost like a zone that you might get stuck into and you grow with that zone to get to the legend? Like almost like this area, or it just really just comes down to luck, no show, and of course some of your skills and how you build your team?
Yeah, I think when it comes to that zone, it's definitely something that I've seen. When you really start to go multiple days in a row of 3-2s, 2-3s, that's kind of, especially when you're at the rating, that's where your zone is. You're amongst players of even skill, unless you get a team that completely counters the meta that people aren't prepared for, and you kind of climb that way. But that's how I've kind of seen it. If I'm, leaderboard players are at, 2650 and I'm at, 2500, I'm going 3-2s, 2-3s. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of right in my even skill area. And as leaderboards climb, I climb too, kind of thing. So I definitely think that's something to be a case of. Like if you're if the number one world ranked player is 3000 and you're at 2300, so you're in that bubble of like 2300s. If legends go up, you can kind of rise up with your bubble as well. So the longer a season is, I think this season we'll be seeing, I think it was 3700 was leaderboards or rank 1 leaderboards last season, I believe.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous. I couldn't believe that you can even go that high.
Yeah, and that was from a fresh reset of everyone's rating, completely fresh. So then if we look at this one, it's going to be added on to it. So I think we're going to see people hit 4,000, which means, look at when someone hits legend, look at what rating you're at, and then go, okay, if they get to 4,000 and I'm at 2,400, that means I'm only 600 behind in terms of skill, right? If I'm going 3-2s, 2-3s and not climbing and not dropping drastically. So if they hit 4,000, that means you could potentially get up to 3,400 by the end of the season if you stay within your bubble. But if you're going 4-1s like all the time, 5-0s a lot, then you're definitely not in the pool of players that are at even skill. You need to kind of move up a little bit. And I see it happens to me all the time. That's why I say I get stuck at this 2,700 bubble all the time once everyone's kind of starting to hit legend, because I just get stuck there because that's kind of like where my skill pool is. I'm not rank 1 player skill, but I'm just under leaderboards kind of area. So I just hover there for like a week and then I find a team and break out. But that's what I think about it. So
yeah, and I think Zyonik mentioned this earlier too. Sometimes you're just like a few sets away, and I think me personally, the difference of when I hit legend or that top rank 10 or whatever, versus when I don't, is really just like a day or two of good sets, like I think, like I talked earlier about how it took me 2 weeks to hit legend when I was 4 points away. If I won one extra battle in one of my sets, I would have hit legend 2 weeks prior, right?
Mhm.
Which meant that in that specific timeline, I would have beaten out hundreds, maybe thousands of other players to legend. But instead, because I lost that one game, who knows, it's just one game, right? I lost one game. I was thousands of spots lower, like later than everyone else, right? And so that really it says something about some of the randomness of GBL and the ranking system as well. And I think a lot of players can sympathize with this. Sometimes you just get that 5-0 or 4-1 back-to-back set, and all of a sudden you're like on the next rank, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're suddenly the best player in GBL that day, right? It's just that you did really well. You had maybe good leads, or you read the meta really well, or your team worked really well, or you did play really well for those 10 matches. And then just like most players, like just like everyone, there'll be days where you don't play really well and you drop and go 0-5 or 1-4, and it just brings you really far down because of that, right?
Mhm.
And so I think it's just kind of, I think GBL ratings and rankings are kind of a roller coaster ride. And if you hit that wave right at the right time, then that can shoot you up really high. And I say the same thing about leaderboards too. There's times where I finish the season on the first page of the leaderboards, and there's times where I finished and I wasn't on the leaderboards, right? And those are big differences, but at the end of the day, it could just be the difference of a few good sets that put me up there, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, people that are high on the leaderboards, a lot of them are really good players, so nothing to take any credit away from them. But if they have some really good days and they move up high in the leaderboards, a lot of them either don't do the rest of their sets, or it takes them forever to find about that they can't do the other sets, and they just sit up there, right? And so they can't move any further down because they can't find anyone else to battle, right? And so, like at the end of the day, like I wouldn't judge anyone skill level based off of their leaderboard placement. If they're on the first page or they're not on it at all, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're an infinitely better player, right?
Yeah. And, on top of that, as we're going from like rank 1 to 20, I'm fighting players, most of the time people who hit legend, stretch, flex, not stretch, flex the recent season's pose, right? I always do that. The last season's pose, if I hit it, I'll use it for the next season, and so on and so forth. And I'm fighting players that don't have that pose, and I will still lose. That's the whole point. Is Go Battle League is such a great leveling playing field that it doesn't matter if you're technically an ace trainer facing off against a legend. That ace trainer can still beat the legend anytime, anywhere. Team comp and whatnot all plays into that, but you have an opportunity to beat anyone any given day, which I think is great.
Oh, that's perfectly put, and that's exactly right. I mean, even you can get bad luck, and you just get absolutely walled, and and there's nothing you can do. So yeah, I don't like when people basically try to what do you call it? Duck the opponent? No, it's not duck. There's a word for it.
Dodge. Yeah.
Dodge. There we go. So dodge the opponent just because it has a legend pose. And it just makes no sense, especially when you face me. Don't dodge me, because you can definitely beat me. But as far as since we're talking about this high competition and leaderboards, and now we are literally talking about 4,000 elo points. So it's almost like time, even though it just started, but it's almost like time that Pokemon or Go Battle League might come up with an additional playing field. My idea was that I was thinking is, what if the first half of the season is almost like the qualification. So meaning like the regular season, open season, just like any sports. And if you hit legend or you reach X amount of elo points, you get into the playoffs. And playoffs is the second half of the season. Or if you didn't get into the playoffs, then you continue on to hit that legend. But the people who actually hit that, they have now playoffs, and that's a different style of games or whatever that is, different meta maybe, or you just face X amount of players, different pool. But I wanted to bring this up to you guys because you guys are always there. One, second, you have tons of experience in Silver Arena, and you've been in the game for a long time. So do you think that is something coming in the future, or do you want to see something come in the future that might reshape how we finish up each season?
Sure. Yeah, I think just looking at the history from Niantic, they always come through in the end when it comes to stuff, but it takes a long time. some Mega Evolutions, right, coming out. When they first came out, everyone was in rage because of how expensive they were and pay. And it's slowly becoming easier and easier to get access to them. They're getting more and more benefits. Same with Exo Candy, same with raids, PvP. So I think Go Battle League will, in a year's time, will be different than what it was when it started and what it is now. We'll see different stuff. I'd love to see stuff like a practice league where it's a frozen rating. And Caleb and I have talked about this a couple times. I'm like, this is the second season now. They're ending with a Kanto Cup with 0 rating, right? We don't get any rating. And I'm like, what if this is just a test of their new system to create a practice league? Because people just want to try teams without it affecting their rating. And I'm like, I've been advocating for that since the beginning of Go Battle League because I think it's really necessary. Something else I thought might be cool is if they do something like Call of Duty where you have prestige, where you hit legend and then you can choose to reset your rank and you go back to 1, but it's a prestige 1. So then you can climb up to 20 to ace, but it's prestige ace, and you're facing only people that are in the prestige. Does that make sense? So a prestige ace wouldn't be fighting a normal ace. So instead of just having rating and going, to 4,000, it's you hit 3,000 and then you can prestige and reset, but then you only fight people who prestiged and reset, basically. So I thought that'd be cool to keep it going and keep people wanting to playing, because it's like, oh man, this guy's a 3rd prestige ace. That's like insane, That would be cool instead of just seeing the rating after legend.
Yeah, that sounds pretty crazy. Caleb, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think you brought up an interesting point in terms of like different like cutoffs or tournaments and stuff like that. And I think Go Battle League has opened the doors a lot for PvP for Pokemon Go, just even bringing in a lot of new players into the game. I think for organized tournament purposes or like playoffs or like stuff like that, like big exclusive invitationals, I think there's going to have to be a decent amount of work to be done in Go Battle League first for it to not be very controversial, I guess is the best way to put it. Because, right now like you mentioned, there's like dodging, there's like stream sniping, there's still lags, so many other mechanics. And I think just to determine someone's invitational to something so exclusive based off of their Go Battle League performance, can definitely cause quite a bit of issue, because as we all know, there's quite a bit of randomness to Go Battle League, but then there's also some in-game errors or issues that can reduce your chances of making it, as well as other things you take advantage of, like you can stream snipe, or if you're streaming, people in your stream chat can help you too, right? There's many ways to influence the impact of that in kind of an unfair way, whether intentional or not. And yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be an exciting idea, but I would be a little hesitant to launch it based off of the current premise of Go Battle League at the moment, if that was the qualifying piece to it. So those are kind of my thoughts on it too. I think it would change a lot for Go Battle League streaming if how you perform Go Battle League determined your invitational to
no one would stream their
people wouldn't stream. Yeah, they'd be on the biggest delay ever, or they like record all their sets and then like shoutcast it later, live. Yeah. Like it'd be really weird. And I think because Zyonik, I think the same thing without even talking about this before, like people probably wouldn't stream the same way, right? Which means that there's something probably needs to be changed before something like that is released through at least Go Battle League. Maybe there's other ways to qualify for something like that, and that would be different. But yeah.
I definitely misheard the question there. Sorry about that. I thought you were talking about just in Go Battle League, not thinking about the tournaments outside. That's actually an interesting thought to that. And I think they might do something like that. Like people who actually compete might be invited in game, because you don't want to invite the whole player base if they haven't played in Go Battle League. So, maybe hitting ace, or at least hitting level 20, you have an opportunity at, Go Fest or something to compete in this special tournament. They may make it open, whoever's there, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot still to fix, because any Soph Arena tournament, especially like world championships and finals and regionals, one fast move not going through or one lag, it resets the whole game. Like any small little discrepancy changes the whole match, because it actually makes a difference. So the client definitely needs to be like performing a bit better. And also if they do have it so that your performance in Go Battle League puts you at invitational status and people stop streaming, they have to have practice sessions so that people can stream their practice, no rating battles, you know? Because people will not want to give away their secrets and their teams.
Yep.
At all. That you would literally see Twitch disappear overnight. King would be the only one still there, I think.
That's the first thing came to my mind, but we would definitely see that. But I think we would also see, if that's the case, then I don't know if it's in person. Hopefully it will be in person soon. But what if a new genre arrives with that? You know what I mean? Because now we might be streaming the actual, well, with delay, obviously, because no stream sniping. Although if it's at a tournament or if it's right live, then he might have a better chance, I guess. But what I'm thinking is that, so there's like the pro league, almost like esports, which you're heading into that question, is that how would like an esports work in a right way that you can actually still stream it and not get sniped, and not get your team red, or you know what I mean? Like, I just haven't really pictured that how esports would really work. Would it only work with invitation only, and then you know what I mean? Like, do you have any idea? Like, Zyonik, Caleb, you guys have any idea on how, if let's say they launch esports, how would that look like? Do you think it's in person only, or it's going to be some sort of a GBO?
It would be in person.
Yeah.
I think 100% it would be in person, and it'd be, again, Niantic loves to leave breadcrumbs and do things very slowly. So for anyone who was at GoFest in 2019, Chicago, Dortmund, and I think, was it Yokohama, Japan? They had battle arenas there where you could wait in line, and you had to go through you lose once you're done, you win, you keep moving on. And it was just a one battle in Great League, blind format, just like Go Battle League. This was before Go Battle League came out, which is funny because if we were paying attention, we would have guessed that something like this was coming. But you did like 4 battles. So you faced off against your first opponent. If you win, you move on. You get to the 4th. If you win 4, you're in the finals against someone else. If you win that, then you got a t-shirt and a medal. I actually have I think I have the medal right here. Yeah, you get this little medal. Pokemon Go Fest. I ran a silly line. I think I ran like a Azumarill Defense Form, Deoxys, and Registeel. I just clobbered through some players. That was before Galarian Sunfisk, but I think they do something like that. It'd be an in-person event because they obviously want to take advantage of people coming back. And Go Fest is a huge event, so they do something like that, or a side event like a Safari Zone, but it's a Go Battle League Safari Zone, where it'd want to draw thousands of people to come visit, and it was a big tournament with a cash prize. That's how it'd be. If it was online like it is now, like Go Battle League, there would be holes everywhere that people could exploit or take advantage of or get hurt by. Their own home internet could hurt them. So yeah, that's what I think. Caleb, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I think maybe make it slightly limiting, they could use, I don't like the idea of this, but I think if it's very popular, they kind of have to do it in terms of if they limit the amount of participation in these in-person events, they would go off of your GBO ranking or rating as a cutoff. Hopefully it's not too harsh though, because like you said, like there could be so many factors that influence someone's ability to reach that rank, even if it's just home internet purposes. But I agree. It pretty much has to be any serious competitive play has to be done in person. I think that's true for almost all video games, just because when you're in that closed off environment, maybe you have soundproof, recording rooms, whoever, streaming rooms, etc., and you can't get outside assistance because there's referees and stuff watching. But also makes the stream experience better for everyone because you can't stream snipe, so you can just showcase everything from both sides. It makes it more interesting. And also just the environment of an in-person tournament. Back in Sylph, that was a big thing. But I could see in the future, if it's through Go Battle League or Pokemon Go, the official company from Niantic hosting these tournaments, it's just way more exciting to see it in person, right?
Yeah.
And have that environment in person.
There was an article done before the legend, that ranking system came out. where they were talking about revamping Go Battle League, but it was an article done from a Japanese magazine from a developer from Niantic on Go Battle League. And I translated it to English to see what was being said. But at the end of it, they were saying that they want to eventually make Go Battle League, like once we come out of this, their goal is to make it like an Olympic event, which would be really cool. So, you show up to the event and, you sign up, for the Great League tournament, or you sign up for the Ultra League tournament or the Master League, whatever. And there's going to be different categories and finalists, maybe age brackets, 18 and under, the 18 to 25, something like that. But they literally said in this interview that they want Go Battle League to feel like the Olympics. So then if you look at what they've done in the past at GoFest, it all makes sense and it's really exciting. But the pandemic is what's stopping us right now. We're just in a holding pattern of seasons waiting for that to come.
I remember that article, and I remember in that article also said the same person that was mentioning that yes, we definitely want esports, but then he almost like downplayed esports, and then he said this Olympic style of their bigger goal is to create this Olympic style of battling, and I had no idea what that meant, but it sounded really cool. And as far as for in-person tournament, I can, Caleb and both Zyonik, what you guys said, I could see something like, if I would have to think about it, something like along the line, something simple as, all right, so the cutoff line to able to qualify to get invited to this in-person tournaments is you just have to hit Legend. I just said a random thing, it could be lower, but let's say Legend, which is still, I think, thousands of players. And then half of that probably won't even show up. And then the other half who shows up, it could be something what you said, Zyonik, earlier, that in person there's a qualification once you arrive. You have to go sign up, and then you get into the playoffs or this tournament really if you win 4 matches. And then after that, you're in. And then it's a little bit just like the top 16 as like the whole tournament for a cash prize or something like that. But that's just like popped into my head. It could be something as simple like that, but Niantic likes to create really cool things.
Yeah. I will say too, there's, for everyone who's come into PvP from a Go Battle League perspective, there's a whole different world of pressure when it comes to battling in person, seeing your opponent and being in that environment. And I know Caleb knows about that. Tournament pressure is a huge thing that a lot of people have never experienced. So just be prepared for that down the line when you go to your first Niantic tournament, to understand that there's going to be a lot of nerves, and it's okay. You got to kind of just fight through that and try to not be too nervous. But I remember, especially those big tournaments are kind of overwhelming.
Yeah. And speaking that too, I think in any tournament style, there's going to be some type of elimination one way or another. And in Go Battle League, if you go 0-5, you can just start your next set, and it is what it is. But for tournaments, there's a lot more on the line, because you lose 1, 2, maybe 3 sets, you're out of the tournament, right? Yeah, you're not winning. You're going home empty-handed, and that's going to be a sad thought. But I mean, that's going to be most people, right? There's only going to be one champion at the end of the day in those kind of situations, and so there's kind of extra emphasis on every battle, right? So if you were nervous going into a Go Battle League set, like, you're going to be nervous going to tournaments, and that's fine. That's a natural part of anything competitive, right? But yeah, that environment is definitely very different. But I think, I look forward to it. I think that's what it's we wouldn't be playing this game if we were all just too nervous to play it, right?
Yeah, the in-person tournament definitely is different. So I have to share this with you guys. I think you're going to get a good kick out of this. But my very first SILP tournament was here in Tampa against the current champ of SILP Arena, Speediest Chief 2. That was my very first battle of the history of SILP Arena, of me, right, battling. And needless to say that there was no Go Battle League yet. So I started right off the bat when Go Battle League came out in SILP Arena. And so I show up to this tournament. And like I said, I have no idea who Speedy is. Linden was there as well. But Speedy as Chief is my first opponent. And I go up to him. And I basically say that, if you want, Will his name, just go ahead and mark off 3 losses for you, because I'm just going to sweep this, just so you know. That's what I told him. And he got nervous. So he tells this story all the time. So he got nervous, thinking that, who the hell is this guy? I never seen him before. He must be a traveler or something, And then my team of this was like, I think I used like regular Raichu with single move and with like, I don't know what was the fast move. All my Pokemon was single moves and everything. So even after that battle, he said that he thought that that's my tactic, right? So that I'm just intimidating him. And then in the next 2 and 3, I'm gonna like really show off. And then after the second round came around, he goes, "Oh no, he's nobody." but but yeah,
I like
so,
the confidence though.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was fun. He always brings this up just because of the whole situation, but it's an
Yeah.
in-person tournament is absolutely different.
Yeah.
All right, guys, before we wrap this up, oh, go ahead. Sorry, wanted to say something, Zani?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say the similar thing happened to me when I went down to Argentina. I was doing what was it then? It wasn't Rainbow. What was before Rainbow Cup?
Oh,
Nightmare?
it was Nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
was Nightmare Cup. I'm in the 4th round. And I meet my opponent. They shake my hand and they say, "Hi, this is my first day doing not go battle, like doing PvP battles." And I'm looking, I'm like, "You're 4-0. This is your first day of battle?" And they're like, "Yep." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." It was a very close game, and I don't think it was their first day. They were just intimidating. But it was kind of funny because that was the same tactic. They just walk up, "Hi, this is my first day battling." I'm like, "Well, you're 4-0, and that's great. Okay, hey,
Yeah.
let's go."
Actually, now they say that, one of my locals, his name's Adib Khan, his first tournament ever was back in Tempe. It was like the 3rd Silph Arena Cup. It was his first tournament ever, and he swept it. He went like 5-0 or 6 and he went 6-0, I think.
That's
And
nice.
his trophies at Stomp, just to put things in perspective too. Like it didn't even have, yeah, it was like single move with Stomp for a charge move. And he beat my rival at the time that beat me in every tournament. I was like, who is this guy? He came out of nowhere, right? And I matched with him in his very second tournament. It was a super close set of 3. But it actually was his first tournament ever. He just swept it. And last year too, he was our regionals winner as well. And he made it all the way to Continentals and almost qualified for top 8 in Continentals. So yeah, some people, it really is their first, and you can't,
Can't sleep on anyone.
yeah, you can't sleep on anyone. Exactly. Even if you're the future world champion, you can't sleep on
Yeah,
Daniel
and
there.
that goes to everyone listening too. You can do it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. Go Battle League and Pokemon Go PvP is a leveling field. So
Exactly.
All right, I have 2 last things, I promise. So before we wrap it up, I just want to bring up Pokemon Unite real quick. So
yes.
Pokemon Unite is coming out. I know both of you are super excited about it. If guys, you don't know what that is, if you know what League of Legends is, basically it's like League of Legends but with Pokemon. And I have a feeling that Pokemon might pull it off a little bit better just because they know what we want, because they have so much data on us. So Zyonik, Caleb, what do you guys know and what are you looking for in this Pokemon Unite adventure?
Well, I've been there was a recent beta test in Canada. And the people who participated in that were not supposed to record their battles or upload them. But of course, lots of people did. So if you go to YouTube and just type in Pokemon Unite gameplay and then filter it by like the last week or last month, you'll see a lot of fresh stuff. It's not supposed to be up there, but it's there. That's I'm allowed to watch it because it's there. So it's really exciting. I've been looking at every single Pokemon: Lucario, Venusaur, Gardevoir, Charizard, Blastoise, Machamp, Cinderflame, Talonflame, no, Cinderace, Talonflame. I've been watching everything, seeing what each move does, trying to figure out all the information because it looks like such an exciting, fun game. And what I've noticed is it's close correlation to League of Legends, but it's not as in depth as League of Legends because there's no items from what we saw, like no purchasable items, but the gameplay is much more intense. And one thing that I noticed that was really cool, I think, is there was a time limit, 10 minutes. That's it. League of Legends games could last an hour and a half. Like it could last forever. Like you guys could be going back and forth, but this game, it's 10 minutes max. And it's just about it's getting as many points as possible, high action, big, intense battles. And I'm excited. I'm diving right in. And I know Caleb is too.
Yeah, Zyonik's definitely more well versed than I am in this, but I'm also very excited for the game. I do think that it will be a nice. I think compared to Pokemon Go, it's really fresh and different, and it will be a nice way to kind of bounce out. If people are playing both, it'd be a nice way to bounce out what you do on a day-to-day basis. Because Pokemon Go, even though GBL is kind of like an equalizer in many ways, and you don't have to have the most amount of resources, it's still a grind, right? To do all your battles, it's still a grind to get the resources for those teams. And now we have XL mods, like it's always a grind versus a MOBA game like League of Legends, Dota, or like Pokemon Unite. It just you go there, you lay it all on the field in that one game, and then that's it. And then you can start the new game. You don't have to worry about the last game. And you could grind out more games, but at the end of the day, you don't have to. And it's kind of nice to just do one thing and do everything in that one game and just reset every time, like a pure reset, right? So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be fun, and I think it's a team game too. I love team games. It's a team of 5. Especially if you get to play with your friends. Like Pokemon Go is a very individual game, right? There's different ways you could do different teams, right? And like we're all in different like Mystic, Valor, and Instinct and stuff like that. But collectively, we can't really do too much with our teammates in that sense. But in Pokemon Unite, you're really on team 5, and you win as a team, you lose as a team, and that part, it really excites me as well, to be able to play with your friends and stuff. I'm definitely gonna be waking up earlier to play with Zyonik if possible too, because
I'm gonna be, because I haven't been streaming Pokemon Go because of a family and whatnot, but the kids are starting to get older now, and I think by the time Pokemon Unite comes out, they'll be old enough where I don't always need to be hands-on downstairs a lot to help out with stuff, which will be kind of great with that timing to be able to start streaming again. And again, it goes back to how Caleb and I are starting to view our seasons, where we do quality over quantity. If you are trying to just spam, I mean, ultimately you do what you want to do, right? Have fun with what you want to do. But if you want to do less sets, that gives you some more time to play other games as well. So if you only do 2 sets each day and go Battle League for consistency with your team to go, 7-3, 8-2, and then you can do maybe like 2 or 3 Pokemon Unite games as well. There's some variety instead of spamming Go Battle League every single day. So, yeah.
That's exactly correct. And I love it that it's not connected at all. So you don't have to have that hustle. You can just turn it on, jump in, and just like Caleb said, it's a restart, fresh restart every single match, which I love. I cannot wait. I'm very excited as well. Yeah. And before we wrap it up, just wanted to bring up one last thing, is that the Battle Cats podcast. So we talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but at the end, I also want to wrap it up with that. What are you guys looking forward with the Battle Cats podcast? Do you think you're gonna extend it to more than just Pokemon Go or anything Pokemon related? And what's the goal of the podcast, or what would you guys like to deliver to the audience?
Yeah, I think Pokemon Unite is definitely going to be on our radar. And I think when we created our podcast as well, we created it called the Battle Cats, not knowing that, it's meant to cover the Pokemon universe as well. As games develop and evolve, Pokemon Go evolves, different games come along. We always want to be talking about things that are fun, that interest us, that also interest you guys. And for Caleb and I, Pokemon Unite is going to slot right in. That doesn't mean we're going to stop, Pokemon Go and Go Battle League, but it's always important to add on new stuff. And especially like the Pokemon Legends Arceus, like that whole new stallion, that'll be fun to kind of talk about as well when that comes out. So yeah, I think for the future, we're just going to keep adding on stuff that's fun for us to talk about. Basically, that's the whole point.
Yeah, there's definitely, I agree with Zach there, and I think there's obviously a lot of flexibility because we kind of just talk about what we want to talk about, and we're very fortunate to have an audience that seems to enjoy it and doesn't mind, which is nice. And yeah, I think we just kind of take it day by day and see how it goes. We don't have, I guess, set plans for exactly, like, I don't know how Biocast is going to look a year from now, right? And I think that's the exciting part of it, right? Like we're who knows what this podcast will be talking about specifically a year from now. I'm sure there's still Pokemon Go in it, but it could be a bunch of other things. And I think both Zyonik and I are content creators that like to create content, even if it's not just Pokemon Go. And so we have a diverse set of interests, and definitely excited to see kind of how it develops.
That's awesome. Happy to hear that. And then one last thing, just to wrap this up. I know I said this already 3 times, but it's basically what I wanted to ask is, if you only had, resources for one team only, but you can elect it if it's Open Ultra or regular Ultra League. and it's starting this week. What would be that one team if you have to push 2 weeks of Ultra with that one single team? What would that be?
I'd go with Empoleon Double Dragon. It'd be Ultra League Premier Cup. I'd go Empoleon lead, Dragonite in the back, Kingdra safe swap. Talonflame will not have a place to go. A lot of waters coming into Talonflame will not have a place to go. Maybe some rocks coming into Talonflame will not have a place to go, really, except for Dragonite. But what I've learned is that a Brave Bird from Talonflame into Empoleon does not hurt. Kingdra, if they try to flame charge a Kingdra, it's going to do 100th of its health, roughly. It's ridiculous how tanky. It's double resist. I really like the Double Dragon team, and I think out the gate, this meta will definitely favor that kind of heavily for Premier Cup. So that's what I'm going to kind of run the first couple days maybe, but we'll see. But yeah, that's where I put my bet for running a team. Movesets, for anyone wondering, Empoleon, Waterfall, Hydro Cannon, which is Community Day move, and Drill Peck. And then Dragonite would be Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw, Hurricane. And then Kingdra is going to be your safe swap with Dragon Breath, Octazooka, and Outrage. And then Octazooka is just so deadly. And a lot of Venusaurs don't shield Outrage, which is so deadly. There's a lot of games you can play with this team, but that would be my bet.
Yeah, I like where Zyonik's head's at because I'm thinking the same thing. What is going to beat Talonflame and not be super weak to it? And so I guess for Premier, for me, it'd be a team I used a few seasons ago, but I think it would be really good against Talonflame as well. It's Gengar with Lapras and Crustle on the back. Crustle obviously with its rock moves. Lapras and Crustle can definitely handle Talonflame, and Gengar actually beats it too in certain shielding scenarios. So yeah, in that same vein, Talonflame won't have much play against it, which I expect quite a few Talonflames to be a part of. But also the team, that team is also very strong against the general meta of Go Battle League as well. So I've enjoyed using it in the past, and I'm sure it'll still be pretty solid for this upcoming season.
Both of those teams are freaking amazing. Thank you for sharing that, because I'm pretty sure lots of people are right now Googling or YouTubing basically what I could use in Ultra, especially against Talonflame, because so many people have nightmares, from Great League when they face that Talonflame. It generates energy so good, and you never know if it's a Brave Bird or Flame Charge.
Yeah, I think one disconnect, and I learned it last season with Incinerate users, it's so dominant in Great League because of the damage from Incinerate, and especially neutral matches, especially as you build it up. But in Ultra League, it's about the charge moves. That Incinerate's really not going to farm down something unless it's like an Escavalier, right? Mm-hmm. So the damage from there's a lot different. So it's going to heavily rely on its charge moves more so than one flame charge and just chunking someone's health by 60% before it goes down, right? So there's going to be a lot of different play for it. But yeah, it's still going to be good. So.
Well, one cat might get hurt a little bit more this season, Berserker, just because, pure metal against Talonflame. So I'm worried about that because that's my main Pokemon to use in Ultra, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I just want to wrap it up for the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast again. I know it was long, lots of informations. So if you're still sticking around and listening or watching, make sure to check out Kayla, Peng, and Zyonik on their own podcast, Battle Cats. And if you're not subscribed or following them on YouTube, you must do that as well. I'm going to link that in as well. So guys, thank you again for coming on the podcast.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.